Hey everyone, so we are back with the part 5 of our series where now we'll be discussing about what is open source. So before starting our discussion, it's important that we look into this slide as well, which is open source is not equal to Google Summer of Code, which you also take it as GSoC. So, okay, GSoC is an indeed a great opportunity for you to avail in open source, but it is not the only thing you have in open source, okay? When we say open source, it is open to all domains, not only coding, but if you are interested in writing, if you are interested in designing, you can contribute to any domain, right? It's not just that you should have coding experience and all of that while contributing to open source. You have all kinds of contributions, like all kinds of contributions are accepted. The only condition is that it needs to be valuable and it needs to be actually relevant to the particular repository or the thing you are actually contributing to. Yeah, so moving forward then, so this is the particular slide which I wanted to show, that open source is all about collaboration rather than competition. Okay, so many people get rejected also in GSoC because yeah, many students apply every year to this GSoC and they get rejected. Okay, so then they tend to lose their interest in open source and then they will not make any open source contributions after that. So getting a rejection has a lot of reasons behind that. It's not only just because of your own expertise level in the skills you have mentioned, but there are many reasons behind that. First of them can be the project selection which you have done in GSoC. Then the second could be the proposal which you have submitted to GSoC project organizations. And the third one could be that you didn't select the project which you were interested in, like you just saw the hype for that project and then you selected the wrong project. So all of those kind of reasons. And also fourth point is that many people are applying for that project which you have selected. So obviously such kind of small reasons can lead to that rejection. Okay, so unless and until you put some efforts from your side about hunting the perfect project and also looking into your own interest, what you can do in that particular project, and putting out a really good proposal, then everything would be right, and you will obviously, no one can stop you from getting that acceptance from them, right? So open source is about collaboration rather than competition. You should not start making open source as a competition. Then one of the biggest questions now is that, but why should we contribute to open source? So one of the thing is that when you are contributing to open source, it's a great opportunity. It gives a great opportunity to you for learning, for teaching, and also to meet new people, and to actually meet people who have the similar interest. Okay, so when you are contributing to open source, you actually get to learn new things. Okay, because you tend to push yourself, you tend to like learn those skills to contribute to that particular repository or contribute to someone else's repository or work. So what you do is that you learn that particular skills required and then you upscale yourself and then you contribute. So that is how open source actually pushes you to learn new skills as well on the go. And then you can also teach in open source. So if you are like making a contribution and the reviewer is not accepting your review, you can give your own perspective as well. You can also explain your perspective, how you are looking things as. And obviously it is a great teaching experience as well when you're contributing in open source. Then you meet people also who have the similar interests. So if I say in GSoC, if I give the example of GSoC, then there are specific forums, discussion forums for each and every organization and projects which you are working on. So you discuss everything in public. So everything happening in open source is public. You don't privately DM your mentors and organizers or the maintainers of the repository. You don't privately DM them. Everything happens in public. So when the discussion happens in public, you meet new people who are responding to your particular suggestions, and you meet people who have the same similar interest in your domain and people who are at the same expertise level. So you connect with them and you communicate and you collaborate with them, and that is how you make connection as well, right? So this is a great way when you are contributing to open source, that it gives you a lot more broader perspective and a lot more broader experience of contributing, learning, as well as teaching in this particular field. Okay, so that is what the advantage of contributing to open source is. And then there's also one of the biggest misconceptions that uh, you have to actually make the contributions in terms of coding. No, as I previously also stated, that open source doesn't mean that you have to make a coding contributions only. Okay, if you are like very much interested in speaking, you can actually record your audio and you can put that as an open source contribution. If you are like have a passion for teaching, you can record your video and actually explain things, and you can put out your own contributions. If you are interested in designing, you can post your designs online and for the people who have actually the need of them, and you can contribute in that way. If you are interested in coding, you can do coding and you can add your contribution. So that is how open source works. There are a lot more domains which I am not spoke right now or mentioned right now, but a lot of domains are there in open source and basically open to everything. So not just coding. It is very much a common misconception that open source only consists of coding. No, you can contribute in any terms. If you like to help also, you can start some repository which have a kind of list of all relevant opportunities or opportunities present for students or any kind of people which you are targeting. So you can list all of the opportunities for them so that they can view your repository and get the information from your repository. So you can help people in that way as well. So open source helps in a lot broader way, as I said. Not only like coding contributions, but a lot more things are included in this. So then also second question would be that how should we select a project to contribute to that? How should we actually start working on a project? So the only thing to this is that you should select a project in which you're interested to work on. Okay, just don't select a project just by seeing the hype of that project or popularity of that project. See, first introspect yourself and first see that what existing, like what skills you have in that particular domain. Suppose say if you are making coding contribution, you have to have a knowledge of what basically those programming languages needed are. Okay, so you have like experience in C++, you have experience in C, but the project demands for the knowledge in Python. Then you obviously have to learn Python. The basic Python knowledge which is required for making that contribution is required. Without that, you can't contribute in your C++ language, right? Obviously, there are certain rules which you can also check out in the readme file and contributing.md file in each and every repository. So when you are working on your open source repository, there are readme files for your help and for your understanding about the project, and that is how you make an open source contribution as well. So you take a project which actually you are interested in contributing to, and then you make the contribution by discussing it with the owner of that repository or the maintainer of that repository, right? So you can open up a new issue if you want to, and you can discuss about that. Okay, I am planning to add this feature, would it be good if I do so? You can also check the issues tab first before opening your own issue, about like what other people are doing, and you can also check the pull request tab to see what work has been posted by people till now and what actually the work is in review. Basically the open pull request, you can check out that. And another thing is readme file would give you the idea. And the third thing, if you are like really interested, you can also go through their code base and understand the code base, and then you can start making the contribution so that you don't have to face any confusion at the end. Okay, because see, when you're working on open source project, it is possible that other people are also thinking in the same perspective, right? So suppose if you're working on project and the project demands for a light mode dark mode theme, you are also contributing to that particular thing, another people are also working on that particular thing. So in the end what happens is that other person might code it or might contribute before you, and he will get his pull request merged, and then your pull request would obviously be rejected, because obviously that person has already made a pull request on a light mode dark mode. Then your pull request is again the same kind of contribution to that repository, so your pull request will be rejected. So you have to actually review the things, you have to give your own innovative suggestions, you have to be aware of what the things are happening in the repository. So you have to take all of these things in consideration, and then you have to make the contribution. Okay, and I will also include some of the resources for you to look and see for open source. And like some of the websites which are there for you to get started and select your first project, open source project, and you can contribute to that. Okay, and some of the things which is that when you open a pull request, actually as a new beginner, so there are certain things which happen. Okay, so first of them is that it doesn't get accepted. Okay, so obviously, as I said, that it's not a bad thing which you should take. You should not take things in a bad term when you're working an open source project. Okay, if it doesn't get accepted, you can request the kind of the reviewer who has closed your pull request or rejected your pull request to ask for a review or kind of a reason for that rejection. Okay, you can ask that particular reviewer for a rejection reason why he has rejected your PR, so that you can better improve on your mistakes which you have done, or you can also improve on your particular submission or contribution you have made. So in that way you will learn things, and you will also start understanding things when you do so, rather than just getting demotivated and stopping your open source contributions. So that is one of the things, that your contribution might not get accepted, so you have to deal with that. Take everything constructively. Okay, don't start bashing the reviewer and start forcing him to accept your submission. He will actually guide you throughout the process. Like if you ask him for help, he will obviously guide. Okay, so another thing is that someone might also request changes on your already done contribution, because they think that the contribution you have done might be kind of an incomplete according to them. So they will ask for sort of improvements in your already submitted contribution, or they will tell you to add more things in your contribution. So no need to get worried about that. Okay, you can add you can actually work on their suggestions. You can also implement and work on the things which they have mentioned in the review. So these are kind of situations when I am giving, where actually someone requests changes to your contribution. So you have to actually follow them, and you have to actually learn from those reviews that what particular expectations are there. Okay, when you are working on feature, so obviously you would have given it a thought that okay, I am planning to include this feature, but that is one thought. According to other people, there would be some other perspectives coming up, and there would be other ideas coming up for the same feature. So you also have to think about implementing them as well. It's not just one way contribution, but you have to take reviews on the way as well. Okay, you have to be open to all the reviews, and you have to be open to all the you are getting, and need not get demotivated by that. If someone is requesting, you obviously have to like put in some efforts, and you have to make that contribution a valuable one and an efficient one. Because when you get a review, the third situation could be that you are not getting a response. So that happens when you are actually contributing to a repository which is inactive, or kind of which is not recently updated. Okay, so that is one of the things which happens. And you can like tag the repository owner if you feel so that you haven't got response on your particular pull request and it's open from very long time. So you can tag the repository owner or kind of the maintainers who are maintaining that repository, and request a review on your pull request. If it doesn't get accepted, if you doesn't get any response even after like doing that, even after tagging the repository owner, then leave it as it is. Okay, you need not to be very much concerned or attached to that particular PR or contribution. Okay, you should move forward, and you should just start planning about your next contribution. It's fine. Okay, from the next time, start selecting a project, start selecting a repository which is actually updated or recently updated, or that have like contributions made in some of the recent times, so that you don't have to worry about that not getting a response on your particular pull request. Okay, because this situation happens mostly when you are contributing to repository which is old and which is not updated a lot. So that is one of the things which you can take care of. And yeah, and the fourth situation is your pull request get accepted. So obviously congratulations on that, and you have made a successful open source contribution. So yeah, everything, now you will get the experience of how to make the pull request successfully, and you will start making contributions. But even after, if you get a rejection after your successful contribution, like the second PR gets rejected, then no need to get demotivated again. Okay, so while you're working in open source, everything has to be accepted as a constructive feedback to your own contributions. Okay, you don't need to take it in a bad term that the opposite person is trying to kind of demotivate you or kind of tell that your expertise level is not proper. It is not like that. Okay, so when you are working on open source, you have to have a broad mind and you have to have really innovative minds as well when you're making contribution. You need not make the same kind of contributions to everyone's repository. You need to think of innovative ideas in which you can contribute to someone else's repository. Yeah, I will list out some of the opportunities. So yeah, all of these points are covered in the slides before. So these are some good open source opportunities for you. I will mention all of these links in the description box as well. So you can see there are a lot of opportunities for you present in open source when you look into this. You have like open source fest, you have mentorship programs. You can get into these mentorship programs and you can meet people and you can contribute. You can also be mentored by people and you can actually gain a lot of experience. Of code, you have Girl Script, Summer of Code as well. You have internships, you can do that. And as I said, you have like contributions in all sorts of domains. So you have Google Season of Docs as well, not only Google Summer of Code. So you have like all kinds of resources for you, and these are some good opportunities for you to avail in open source, right? So I will mention all of these links in the description box for you to look, and you can check these links out and you can actually avail these opportunities in open source and yeah, get started with your open source contribution. Keep learning and happy learning as well. Thank you so much.